Hey, well, it went out a lot faster than I thought it would. Anyway, welcome to another episode of the Brothers Who Talk live podcast stream right here on Facebook. Man, what's going on with y'all?
What up?
A great week so far.
Yes.
Listen, man, I'm trying to figure out why Facebook won't let me share. I think I'm
we
in
might be.
jail.
We might be in jail.
I didn't do anything though.
Locked up.
Can't share it nowhere unless they don't update it and then say something. But anyway, welcome, you guys.
Let's see.
If you are here and you don't know where you are, this is the Brothers Who Talk. I am your boy Terry. This is AD right here.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
So we are live right now on Periscope, Facebook, and YouTube. So make sure that if you miss us, you can catch this on YouTube.
Yes.
I think Ashley Collins is going to pop in here in a little bit because she kind of shared our post. And
awesome.
So welcome aboard.
Yes, indeed.
We're going to do this. I'm going to give you time. If you are in here and you haven't shared it yet, I'm going to give you a chance. All right? Hold tight. If I can find it.
Welcome to another episode of the Brothers Who Talk with Terry and AD. This podcast is about men talking about everyday shenanigans, the stuff that makes us mad, to the topics that concern why in the world do these guys have a podcast. Let's get to it.
Get to it. Welcome. Right here on Trump City Direct TV, right here on Facebook, in Periscope. Not Periscope. Brothers Who Talk to Facebook and on YouTube. I am apologetic. You are in for a great episode today, right? Because we are going to talk about all things Black. We're going to talk about evictions, and especially within the pandemic, where people are protesting to council rent, and so we can kill the evictions and all that stuff. But we're gonna get into that with our man of the half hour, Mr. Hamilton here, Mr. McCoy in a little bit. All right, so we're gonna start the show the same way we do every week. AD, sir, how was your week, man?
Fantastic. Just celebrated my wife's birthday. Whoop whoop. Yeah, whoop. So we went away. It was amazing. We enjoyed ourselves, just me and her. So time to connect, reflect.
Hey, yes, you didn't take the babies.
No.
Oh, you wrong.
Just me and her. So yeah, just us two making it happen. So
okay.
It was a good time. So we enjoyed ourselves. I loved it. Gave us an opportunity to refresh, reflect, and kind of talk about things going forward. So it was a great time. Loved it. So yes. So this week has been fantabulous.
Supercalifragilistic. Isn't that how they go? But no.
Right.
Okay.
What about yourself, brother? How's your week?
My week it's been a week. It's been uneventful. Haven't had a lot going on other than work.
Okay, maybe a good thing.
People were back there trying to buy a car. And, it's been eventful. Let's see. Yeah, nothing.
That's it. It's good. All right.
And that's very rare to say for me because I'm always in something.
Right.
But this week has just really been uneventful. Melissa's been doing a thing with the kids. They've been staying out my house, so I'm cool with that. Nice. All right. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and introduce our man of the half hour. He's going to be a part of Tell Him Why You're Mad here in a little bit. Let me go ahead and read what he sent me. Okay. Brace yourself. All right. Our guest today is Mr. Jesse McCoy. He is out of Durham, North Carolina. So if you guys are in North Carolina, go ahead and throw it. Okay. He is a law professor, author, podcaster, father, husband, retired social activist. Retired? I don't think so. If you read some of his posts, he ain't retired from nothing. I don't know why you say that.
Right.
In his day job, he trains students on how to litigate on behalf of tenants in eviction actions in Durham. That's the reason why we're going to talk about evictions in a little bit.
Nice.
However, outside of teaching, he talks a lot, just like I do. He's part of 3 podcasts, Brothers-in-Law, which is ranked on podcasting charts about everywhere.
Nice.
Half of Pan-Africana show and solo host of the Black History You May Not Know podcast. So I know this is long, but I do a lot. Yeah, you do.
It's all good.
All right. So let me go ahead and bring him on real quick, and now I'm going to introduce him and give him my memory in a little bit. All right. Welcome, J Hamilton McCoy.
What's going on?
What's up, there, boy? Let me tell you. Real quick, I'm gonna give you my memory with Jay. Some years ago, AD, I don't know if you remember. You remember Janine Cummins, yeah?
I sure
On
do.
Periscope. Janine Cummins had Women of Worth that she did on Wednesdays, and she had Men of Meaning that she did on, I think, Mondays. And so one day she called me out of the blue and was like, "Hey, Terry, I want you to take over Men of Meaning." I was like, "All right, cool." And so I started a movement called Men of Meaning.
Wow. And
so I did me and Jay followed each other on Periscope. We was already friends, whatever. And I did my first thing in Charlotte. And I invited people to come and all that and had a presentation. And Jay, who I hadn't met before then, drove all the way from Durham to Charlotte to come and see me speak at Men of Meaning for the very first time.
Wow.
And nice. And ever since then, I've always held him in high regard, because it's always, people always say, "Well, so men don't do they say they're gonna do it. They're not men on their word." But J Hamilton McCoy is the contrary. He's gonna do everything. If he say it, he's gonna do it. Awesome. And if he can't commit, then he can't commit. But if he says he's gonna do it, he's gonna be there. So Jay, if I've never told you to your face or on the phone or what, I really, really to this day still appreciate what you did for me that day, and to see your face and your family's face that day. Awesome. Still, years later, it's still one of those things that moved me, because I was like, I thought when I first did it, I felt like nobody believed in what I was doing. Wow. And when he came, and I was like, this man don't even know me from a can of paint. And he told me because he believed in the vision. So if I haven't said it before, I appreciate you.
Hey man, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me on that.
I'm telling you, it was awesome. So with all the much stuff is out of the way, now get into it. This is this part of the podcast. If you've listened to us before, we are into tell them or tell us, or if you're ebonically sound, it's tell them with the EM on the end.
Tell them
why you're mad.
Tell them why you're mad.
We're gonna get into it. We're gonna start. AD, do you want to start? Or do you want to get Jay to start?
You know what? I'm gonna give Jay the chance to start, because I feel like he got a lot to share. So I'm gonna let him get it all out.
Tell him why you're mad, Jay.
It's a lot. I don't know how much time we got. So the main things that have me mad is two main things. One is, I don't know if you all are familiar with this case out of Winston-Salem. John Neville, who was a black man who was killed while he was incarcerated. They released the footage of his death yesterday. Right. And for a long time, there have been denials about what law enforcement's role was in it. And now we see it was clear that law enforcement killed this man. So that really, really bothers me. And I know there are a lot of people on the ground working to make sure that his family gets some kind of justice for what is happening. The other thing that's bothering me is something that should be affecting everybody nationally. Our United States Senate I have no idea what they're doing right now. We've got about 24 million people across the nation expected to be evicted. Right. All it takes to stop them from being evicted is the issuance of a moratorium and the supply of federal funds to keep people housed, because a lot of the people being evicted are unable to work due to their jobs imposing COVID restrictions. So if you're a waiter, you're not having dine-in services right now. Well, guess what? You don't make money. You don't work. So the government, all they have to do is literally take a vote and sign this in, and people can have relief. But for some reason, it started off with saying, it's a no-brainer, it's going to happen. Now there's legitimate debate as to whether or not it's going to happen. And evictions in most states across the nation have ramped up. So I'm dealing with people now that we don't really have a legal defense. We're just, they're being evicted, but they're good people. They've done what they were supposed to do.
Right.
So those are the two biggies for me.
Man.
So he's mad at the lack of common sense in the world.
Absolutely.
Understood. Hey, you tell me why you're mad, bro.
Man, well, just real quick, I think a lot of that, man, is just politics now, right? It's just absolutely. I got to choose a side, and I can't make Trump look good, or I can't, make our side look bad. So it's crazy. They just drop the politics, be human, help because they got the money. Like, stop acting like they ain't got the money. That's the thing. If we ain't had the money, that'd be one thing. But we got the money. We can Wall Street can get 90 trillion, right?
It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. But tell you why I'm mad. I'm mad at Comcast. Nope, I'm sorry. Let me get it right.
You mad at
Spectrum
Comcast?
Charter. Spectrum Charter.
Spectrum
Get it
Charter.
right.
What they do?
Yes. Listen, the internet sucks all the time. All the time. And then it took me like 4 weeks before I can get a modem because they didn't have enough.
4 weeks
like
for a modem?
4 weeks. So
a whole
yeah.
30 days. That's crazy.
So yeah. So I had to kept going back like, hey, no, we out. How you out of modems? Like this is what y'all do. I can't, like
Just
why
like
isn't production being ramped up? If I knew, Jay, if right now, right, Congress passed something and they signed into bill, became a law that said everybody is required to have a lawyer.
Right.
You gotta have a lawyer. Wouldn't you get a lot of lawyers? Like, let's get some folks through school. Let's get this rolling so we can make this money. Jay would have a huge law firm right now. Like, yo, we don't want to get this thing. So why not? This COVID is hit. Everybody's about to be home. You should have more than enough modems to help her, and then your system should be expanded. Like, oh man, we got some trucks out. Let's get this thing rolling. I feel like everyone going through the AOL disaster. If y'all remember back in the day when AOL dropped the limits, and they couldn't handle it because everybody, of course, like, oh, we can get online for unlimited. I'm never getting off. So it's crazy how so it's like you got one hand the businesses that are struggling, then you got on the other hand the businesses that can flourish even more. But they're unprepared. It blows my mind. Like everybody's seen this. I'm sure people in the office like, hey, you guys ready? Everybody's home right now. It just blows my mind. So that's my beef. Charter Spectrum, I hate them. And then what's worse, because they got these regulations and laws, it's like there's no competition. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get into that later. But yeah, that one right there burns me. What's making you mad, Terry?
Here's the thing: is that with these cable companies. Take advantage of just like Elgato did when everybody was Elgato made a killing, bro. Because once we got sheltered in place, people wanted to live stream. All of a sudden, everybody named Mama podcast. Right. So Elgato made a complete killing during this pandemic. Everything was sold out. You can't. I just got a Cam Link the other day. It took me 3 months to get it because. Everybody want to be a podcaster, want to be the next Joe Rogan. It ain't gonna happen that way. Nonetheless, I digress in that area. But I'm gonna tell you what made me mad. Buckle up. Let me rear back in my chair for this one. Okay. I'm mad at Black-owned businesses right now. I'm gonna tell you why. Okay, because I'm about to scream real quick. Hey, all right, you had to go and do some stuff. All right, so I'm mad because for some reason Black-owned businesses feel like they can just do whatever they want, and I understand they have their rules and such, and they can run their business how they see fit. But if I pay for a service or I pay for something, I'm a customer. I've paid you. I've supported you. I've paid you. I want my stuff. You feel me? And so I had an incident where I paid for some stuff and I still haven't received it. It's been 3 weeks, or almost 4 weeks. So it's like, all right, come on now.
Wow.
So, so I digress. So right there, that's what I'm kind of seething about that a little bit. But I think I'll get past it. I'm either gonna, get my stuff or ask for a refund, one of the two. But nonetheless, I digress. But that's what I'm mad about. If you are a African American person, if you own a business, there's certain etiquette that you have to do. Just if someone pays, now I can understand if you have customers who have put in orders and not paid you, or on the bill, or what in that case I understand it. But if you got people that have supported you and that have done what they're supposed to do and have paid you like you're supposed to, those folks I think should take a little bit of precedent because they're the one that have supported you and done what they're supposed to do.
Right.
So there's a little bit of precedent over that.
Right. You gotta treat people right. If you want the money, you gotta treat people right. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's easy. It's easy. But you know what though? I'm gonna tell you what else is easy. The top 5, brother, which we're gonna do right now. Hold on one second. Let me get mine. All right, we back with the top 5. Listen, if you stumbled in here, if you don't know where you at, this is the Brothers Who Talk here on Charm City Direct TV, Facebook, and on YouTube Live. So thank you guys for joining in. I appreciate you guys who are listening. Make sure you subscribe and download all that good stuff. So we're gonna get into the top 5. This is where I'll tell you guys 5 stories that I think that are either crazy or just like outlandish, but true stories that have happened this week. So we're going to talk about that. Mr. AD has come back into the building. I think he's good. All right, there you go. And so welcome back, AD. All right. So we're going to get into it. We're doing the top 5, my brother.
All
top
right.
5. So first thing we're going to talk about, Miss Kiki Wyatt is pregnant with her 11th child. Okay. Somebody help me understand this. I mean, I not understand that. I understand how, babies get here. But 11 though? Did she just have a baby like last year? She just had her 10th child like last year. She got married. And Kiki, Miss Kiki, let me tell you something. You have been my crush since my first love. You understand what I'm saying to you? But 11 babies, no, I can't.
The Bible said,
be fruitful and
multiply.
Right.
Take it on that principle.
The Bible didn't say how be fruitful and have a football team. He didn't say that. So I had to crush from across the street. Hey, because can you imagine the heartache it would be for a man? I mean, 11. But it asks yourself, were they all C-sections? Did she have also cesareans, or she had them natural? She had them natural.
It's just the thought of it. I mean, and I'm thinking like, even I don't know who's her husband. I'm sure it's someone that has some money husband.
No. Kiki makes the bread. He ain't got no money. Allegedly.
Allegedly. Because man, we gotta. I don't know. I got to get some nannies. We got to split these kids up. I got to do something because that's a lot to come home to. But
I think a couple of her kids are grown though.
Okay.
So I guess
there might be some help. Yes,
she might have some help on that. But 11.
I know that's a lot though. That's a lot of babies.
Man, you better put some pads on them babies and go out and play the New York Giants. Stop playing. Next story, number 2. Now, yesterday, a couple days ago, I think it was yesterday or a couple days ago, we had terror to strike over in Beirut.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
And there is
a video.
And I have a friend of mine that's here that her husband played ball in Beirut. In the D League, so he was over in Beirut, and so my heart goes out to the victims out here. They're still digging for bodies over there in Beirut, and it was just crazy. And if you saw the explosion, it was like an atomic bomb dropped.
Right,
That's what it looked like. It was like a mushroom cloud. Like how did that happen? And then if you troll the internet a little bit, you'll find people that were rolling video in their home.
Wow.
There was one guy that had his son that was standing in the middle of the house, and the explosion happened, and the outer stuff, the bomb came through the house and shook everything and scared the baby half to death, and all of that. So my heart goes out to you. What is this world coming to?
Right.
To where now you're blowing up, Beirut. Like,
Beirut always has had something.
Always had some drama popping.
Yeah, it was.
I get it.
It's unfortunately like I always think about, and I want to hold this point too long, but I always think about what it would be like to live in such a volatile situation. Like some people live in neighborhoods where there's gang violence, but to imagine a bomb can go off while you're in the store or just anywhere, like. You see dudes, you're like, I don't know, am I gonna go in? I don't think I'm gonna go in that store today. Like how we watch dudes in certain corners, like, you know what? I'm gonna go the long way around this way. Because I can imagine
all the way around.
Like, do they have? You got to be perceptive. You're like, I don't know if I'm gonna go to that. This game. I see guys coming in, like, you know what? I'm gonna leave the game a little early today because these guys look like they're about to set it off. So it's got to be a whole nother level of thinking. Like here in the US, you're just looking for bad neighborhoods or bad corners, or you see guys walk in, you're like, yeah, I don't know. They might, they look like they might be packing, about to make this club a little lit. So let me leave a little early.
Or the Trump supporter that's going into Walmart with no mask on. It's about to go down.
Don't get them started. Let's move on real quick. You got number 3.
Let's go.
Number 3 in top 5. Hollywood is going back to work. After all this time, they're finally deciding. I know. I was reading an article. The Rock is actually has a Netflix show, and they're starting production this month. Tyler Perry is already back to work, or has been already, but he has extreme protocol or extreme COVID protocol popping off down there in Atlanta, and you can't work the Oval unless you have some extreme COVID protocols and wearing masks and all that. So, I'm excited. I miss my shows. I love The Good Doctor and all the shows on TV. I love those shows. I miss 911, and I miss Chicago Fire and PD and all them Jones. I miss them. I don't know about y'all, but I miss them. Number 4, speaking of clowns. Did you guys happen to catch 45 interview on Axos the other day? Did y'all happen to catch that? Listen, you didn't miss a whole lot. He kind of stumbled over everything. He had somebody took a crayon and Crayola some pictures for him. It was bad. And statistics was bad. And the guy kept pushing back. The guy that was interviewing him, he kept pushing back. He was like, we talk about deaths. And he was like, yeah, they're going up. And he was like, yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Right.
Bro, come.
It is what it is.
Oh, no. Come on. We'll do it when I'm live. We'll do it when I'm live. There I am. Jeez. Okay, boss. I'll call him back in a minute. That's my boss calling me. All right. So we're going to stay in the same vein with 45. Okay, last one of the top 5. Now, he's already discrediting the 2020 election.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's already saying that if he loses, it's a crock of crap, and then he wants a recount.
Listen. I know that bothers people, but I ain't even mad at him for that. Because if I was like, you know what? How could I spin this?
That's the way he's spinning it.
They doing the Maryland. If I lose, it ain't real.
I have a shout out to Andrew Kahn real quick. I got a question in the back. Right. I got a question.
Right.
If he loses this election, will he be the first president in history to be evicted from the White House?
Sir, it's time to go, sir.
I don't see him leaving that easy.
You're the eviction lawyer here. If he loses this election in November, will he be the first president in history to get evicted from the White
House? He would, but I'll say this, you'd be surprised. First of all, I think he's got this thing already in the bag. He's already shown you what the election results are going to be because he's already paid for them. So I think also that if let's say Joe Biden does win, right? Yes. Then what we're looking at is a turnover, a transfer of power. And it all comes down to kind of where the military's loyalties lie, right?
Oh, right,
so
right.
Are they going to forcibly remove a former president? Right. If they don't like him, sure.
Right. You get the right people.
We'll see how that works out.
It's like everything at your job. You get the right squad. Like, I know you guys. Let's go get my man. Let's get him out. So yeah,
somebody go and get your mans.
Yeah.
All right. So, and that, you guys, is the top 5. Thank you guys for watching and listening to that. Come back next week. All right. So what we're gonna do in the meantime, we're gonna pay the bills here. So we're gonna go ahead and run a commercial. We'll come back with our man in a half hour. Jay, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, man.
Yes, indeed.
What podcast can you find humor, knowledge, and everyday general conversation? That's right. It's the Brothers Who Talk podcast, hosted by Terry the Guru and AD Walker, live every Thursday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, only on Charm City Direct TV. Go to facebook.com/Charm City Direct TV. You don't want to miss this great show.
Hey, Lise.
Hey, shout out to Lise. Lise, I just shouted you out a few minutes ago. You probably just walked in here,
Winnie.
and I just wanted to say, hey, I said allegedly, and I shouted you out because I said that. So,
allegedly.
That's CEO. She's CEO of Mass Media over there on her Millennials Anonymous podcast. Check her out. She's pretty dope. Her podcast.
Yes, indeed.
All right. So the man of the half hour today, J Hamilton McCoy Esq.
No night time.
My guy from back home. Yes. I need for you, sir, to go down to your nearest Bojangles and get me a 12 piece. I'm just saying, I need for you to go down there and get me a 12 piece and with the picnic fry. I get my own drink out here. Like, Pepsi is universal out here, but that to me, I need that.
Oh yeah.
All right. So today, you guys, we're talking about evictions. This is important, and I know we've been cutting up, but this is important because in this pandemic they were in, a lot of people are getting ready to lose their homes right now.
Right.
And it's going to keep Jay very busy, especially out in Durham, where housing is a little different out there. But Jay, I want you to talk to us about that, man. Where are we with that, and how can we prevent evictions?
Absolutely. Well, first, I want to thank you again for having me on the show.
For sure, brother.
Definitely.
Evictions are a huge national issue. We estimate that about 28 million people in America are renters and are in jeopardy of being evicted from their homes. And on top of that, evictions also echo decades and decades of issues with redlining, issues with predatory lending, but all the barriers that prevented minority communities from being able to access ownership. So when you can't own, what do? You rent. Right. In so doing, what has happened is that we had already had in our area an eviction crisis. We were dealing with, in Durham County alone, roughly about 900 eviction filings per month. So we were already at crisis level, and then you inject COVID-19 into this. So COVID-19 is expansive in that many people who are renting also work in the service industry. And when COVID-19 came out, we know it's a humanly transmitted disease. So people shut down the things that humans interact with. If you're a waitress, you're not going to be working anymore, right? The government, in knowing this was happening, attempted to implement what we call the CARES Act. And the CARES Act carried with it a moratorium for certain covered properties. And the covered properties were defined as properties that either have a federally backed mortgage, which means that the landlord doesn't have to worry about being foreclosed on, and properties that receive some sort of federal subsidy, be it from HUD, USDA, IRS, whatever the case may be. The problem here is that there was insufficient funding that was provided to support the moratorium, which pissed off the landlords, right? Because they're not getting paid, and they can't evict. And then the secondary issue with it is it expired on July the 25th. So at this point, we're past that. Landlords have gone several months, really since March, without getting any rent. The people, through no fault of their own, the tenants who live there, largely have been impacted in their reduced employment. And so now we're at a head where the landlord's remedy typically is to evict you and replace you with someone who can pay. That creates two issues. One issue is the people who are being evicted, we haven't necessarily done any kind of wide-scale global testing for COVID-19. So if you move people out of the house, they got to go somewhere else, which means the transmission of that disease is going to continue to spread, which the government does not want. The second part of this is you're evicting people largely who were good tenants, right? Like they had no issue. It's not their fault that they haven't been able to get paid in the past few months. So there was a push to try to get, Congress to do what they were supposed to do. And it is currently just sitting on the desk of the United States Senate. There's talk that maybe the moratorium gets expanded, but not necessarily the funding provided. There's talk maybe neither one of them happens. But the problem is now there's no federal guidance on what to do. So it really depends on what state you're in as to whether or not there's a moratorium. If you're in a state like North Carolina, your moratorium period is over. You are getting evicted now. And unfortunately, there's just not a lot of defense to that.
Right.
And so this is a problem. And what you've seen is different community groups coming together with creative ways of trying to avoid the impact of these evictions.
Right.
The story I saw last week out of New Orleans, they had a whole bunch of people who were being evicted. They rushed to the courthouse before court opened. They formed a line to prevent anybody from being able to come into the court. And the court had to shut down because of the demonstration.
Wow. That's one way of doing it.
Right.
Right.
In New York, you're seeing groups coming together for rent strikes.
Right.
So people are saying the landlord, if he wants to evict us, but we all stop paying rent, then he's gonna have to evict all of us.
Right.
That's gonna cost a lot of money because
It's kind of crazy.
Right. A landlord getting an attorney, you don't get a landlord discount.
Right.
You're gonna be charged top dollar for that.
Right.
So people are finding these ways to play the game, and unfortunately, in the state that I'm in, I can't necessarily advocate for that because it is in our laws that the tenant has a legal statutory duty to continue paying their rent. Right. So even if they say, we want to do this demonstration, we want to create good trouble, as John Lewis would say,
right.
Even if they want to do that, I can't advocate for that. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is kind of the problem that happens when there's ineffective leadership at the top and there's no precautions planned for, and it now rests in the hands of the people to kind of decide how they want to operate moving forward. And everybody tends to run to the court system to kind of get a rule or some kind of process on how these things are supposed to go. But that's not really what the court is for. The court is for hearing disputes.
Right.
This isn't really a dispute. This is a failure of your government. Right. So that's kind of where evictions are.
Wow.
So so like you said, there were 900 a month prior to the COVID. Right. So what is it? So is it rent is too high? Is it, we know we talk about paying minimum wage, but what would you feel like rent is too high for the areas around in Durham or the areas that you deal with? Or what would your solution kind of be for the rent issue that have you seen?
Great question. So the problem is twofold. Okay. One, we have a very low supply of quote unquote affordable housing, right?
Okay.
And I use the quotes only because affordable housing doesn't mean what we think it means. Affordable housing is based on a federal HUD definition. Okay. That takes into account really the salary of Americans across the nation. Right. But as you can imagine, somebody working in California makes way more than somebody who works in North Carolina.
Right.
So it's not really localized.
Right. Okay.
So on top of that, what happens is you have a low supply and just basic economics. When supply is low and demand is high, the price goes up.
Right.
On top of that, people who are trying to get into these places, they're coming to Durham and really the Raleigh-Durham area, largely because there are schools here.
Yes.
There are job opportunities here. There are ways for people to try to elevate their status. But when you get here, you realize that we still have many of the same historic barriers to accessing the capital needed to get ownership, right? So if you wanted to buy a house and you came down here, our housing supply for purchase is even smaller, right? So we don't have a lot of houses, which means the price for the houses is going up, right? What you see oftentimes is a lot of people who are doing really well here aren't from here. There are people who are coming from New York, Chicago, places that rent was crazy expensive. Right. To them, $1,300 a month. What's that? Right. But the people who are displaced are the people who are from here who are averaging annual salary of about $20,000. Right. So if they're displaced, that's the gentrification effect in removing people. We also have major universities in this area. So we have Duke, UNC, we got HBCUs, we got Central, we got Shaw, St. All. There are students here who come from all over who, they're going to have financial aid to help assist them with housing. Right. And so landlords are saying we don't necessarily have to cater to the local demographic because we've got options. Right. And, there's not really, I don't know that we can really complain about it because the landlord's in the business of trying to generate revenue through renting property, and that's his right. But at the same time, there seems to be a lack of consideration on the part of government and the part of developers as to the general problem of housing insecurity. And this is not just a Durham issue, just national.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here,
Okay.
if I can. So when all this talk of evictions started happening and people started panicking about evictions, when people were getting more money to stay home when, with unemployment, because they were getting an extra little bit of money, and they didn't set aside any money, and now these are the ones that are now getting evicted. My question is do you think that there is some truth to the fact, or to the question of, well, y'all had this money and y'all didn't save up for it, all the backlash that people are getting? You think there's any truth to it? You think that we didn't manage our money well while we was in this pandemic, and this is why we're facing eviction? Not only the court side of it, but the personal side of it as well, because
Well, to answer that, I have to kind of go back. So, unemployment at this point is unprecedented. There are people who have filed claims, but they have not started collecting because the state, at least our state,
still backed up.
For a long time was backed up on the claims. So, so folks, have been told they're eligible for unemployment, but they haven't been paid anything. So, and then of course, unemployment benefits generally are tied into the CARES Act as well. So when the Senate doesn't pass the CARES Act for the moratorium and all that, they're also not giving you the unemployment benefits or any kind of extension on it. So some people, if you were able to get unemployment benefits and you got, I think it was the $600 a week benefit they were doing, those people largely have been able to maintain, right? But a lot of people are still on that list and they can't do it again through no fault of their own. What I always advocate for, and I'm very big on this because it's part of Martin Luther King's program and the civil rights movement, poor people's campaigns, all that stuff. Housing is very important, particularly to marginalized communities, because when you do not own, you don't have a say in what's going on in that community, and you're not benefiting from the most quintessential piece of investment in America. And what I mean by that is, it was a time growing up in Durham back when, they made movies about how crime ridden our city was. And there was a time where property was dirt cheap. And even then, people didn't know, well, maybe I should try to purchase, or maybe I should figure out what I need to do to buy. Well, I can't really blame a developer from another state who comes in and says, oh, they're going to sell me acres for 25 G's? I'm going to buy it, right? And so when we didn't do what we could do, and for the people who had the ability to do it, when we couldn't do what we could do, we waited. And so now that same acreage is like, 850,000. You probably don't have that either. Also, a lot of people don't know that houses come with benefits, right? So at the end of the year, when you're doing your taxes and all that mortgage interest that you were paying, you get a deduction for that, right? Money comes back. Your house is like a piggy bank because you're building equity with every payment that you make. And it's an asset because at some point, if you decide I don't want to live here anymore, you can sell it. Now, let's transition to a renter, right? When you're renting, you don't have that power. You're not developing anything but profit for the landlord. And he's going to up your rent every year. So as soon as your lease ends, hey, man, it's going to be 20% more this year, right? So you're paying that. The other thing, I used to do foreclosure work and I do eviction defense. Foreclosure cases. The average foreclosure case that I was on, to see it from beginning to end, was at least 13 months. And you got a year to be in there before they're like, no, you got to go. The average eviction case in North Carolina can be completed in as fast as 22 days. Right. So you literally, you miss rent on the 1st, they can file on the 11th. You out on the 21st, right?
And take it from a man who's been evicted twice in North Carolina. He is not lying about that. He did not play around in North Carolina. And it's
same in Georgia.
And it's funny. I'm telling you something. Nothing in this world is more daunting than to come home and the sheriff's deputy's at your house, and he's telling you that you got 2 hours to move all your stuff out of a 2-story house. That kind of daunting. But let's go back to Durham for a minute, because I'm being from North Carolina and all that junk. Don't let if you're watching this or listening to this, if you move to Durham, the traffic absolutely sucks in Durham. I'm not sure why it sucks so bad for it to be such a small town. Well, actually, with the biggest, metro, I don't know. But Raleigh is beautiful. Raleigh is beautiful, though.
Right.
And if you are a Duke fan, Durham is your Graceland because you get to go to Cameron Indoor. So I'll just saying that. But Durham I've been to Durham once or twice. My daughter lived there for a little while when she went to school at where did she go to school at? She went to Central.
Yep.
For a semester.
So another story. That's another story.
Love you, Brianna. Oh my God. But this whole thing is kind of crazy. Well, let's shift gears just for a second. I know we talked about evictions. Last week on Brothers of Legacy, Brothers of Legacy, we were talking about Ice Cube's contract to America. Right. Jesse, you familiar with that?
Vaguely.
Okay.
AD gonna put you up on game on that one. That was his thing. AD, if you want to jump on that, Ice Cube contract to America.
So some of it, some of the stuff that kind of stood out for me was some of the justice, changing the justice system, where we're constantly where we're not, we kind of go in and come out the same, and then the unequal amounts of time that we get for crimes committed, like you have a small little bag of weed in there for like 10 years, just a lot of erroneous stuff that's happened. But my main thing with it was about reparations, right? And being a civil attorney, I was sitting there thinking, is it possible to bring a civil lawsuit against America for reparations? Is that a possibility? Granted, right. They got a larger team of lawyers than I do.
It's possible. Now, these are the challenges. So one is a procedural challenge, because they're going to say we lack standing, and this is part of the argument that you hear when we had our gurus go up to Washington D.C. to talk about reparations generally. The issue is who gets paid, right? And it causes a lot of division and pretty much shoots people in the foot from the beginning. What they say is, Mitch McConnell, if he were here, he would say, I don't own slaves. Why should I have to pay? And you're not a slave. So why should you get paid? Right. Which is asinine. Like, we all know you benefited from all this stuff. And that we are still dealing with the ramifications of slavery today. Right. But be that as it may, it's a soundbite that sounds good to people who don't want to pay you. Right. So, he's going to say that. The other thing is internal fighting, right? So we've got people, the diaspora is wide, but not everybody has a track that links back to slavery, right? So we've got people whose tracks link back to indigenous tribes here. We've got people whose track link back to Jamaica, the West Indies, Africa. Right. And so the issue is we can't just say that it's black and black people get money, because it's not fair. But that's also discrediting of their experience when they got here as well. So I think that there are a lot of things, and what has been creatively done is people are trying to see how they can put money into programs. I don't necessarily think that's the way to go. I think people need that check, but that's neither. They're trying to put money into programs that they feel like will benefit black people. But my problem with that is who's going to run the program, who's going to audit it, what are their objectives, and it's just a lot. I think stuff like this really needs to be done on a community level. And I was telling people, one of the things that helped us kind of crawl out of, all of the criminal stuff that our city was known for at that time was community centers. You don't see them anymore. Like community centers.
Right. I miss those big boys, big brothers. Yeah.
Yeah. You can learn how to play chess. You can learn how to dress. You can learn how to talk to women without being rapey. Right. Like you
being rapey.
Learn how to just be a man and be other positive role models in the community who will keep you straight. And I'm not gonna lie, we had some people, like when I used to go over there, I used to volunteer and I was a student there. We had gang members across the street and they saw you. And if they saw you cross that street, it was a problem, because they'd be like, no, you don't need to be over here. You need to be over there. Right. So the whole thing about it is we don't have that anymore. Kids are on their own. On top of the fact that, you know, the education system in and of itself, we devalue Black history. It's not a required class. It's an elective. And very few people have a Black teacher to teach Black history. So that's another thing. Then the Black history textbook isn't going to cover everything about you. So you graduate with this great knowledge of European history, white American history, systems that aren't designed for you, right? And you don't really know who you are unless you take the extra step of, you know, going to an HBCU or hooking up with somebody who's still, you know, down and has knowledge and has literature and is willing to put you up on that. So I think there are so many levels to this that just funding a program is not
definitely, because I feel like the funding programs never really, it's not just about us. It benefits everybody. Everything, and you know, I told people like everything that we fought and marched for benefited everybody. It wasn't just us. Everybody got a piece of this. You got knocked in the head. I appreciate you getting knocked in the head because now as a Jew, I can get this housing. You know, like now as an Italian, I can get this, you know, so we benefited. Our work and fight was for everybody. So now I think with reparations is a direct, like, you know, like I explained to someone, it's like a car wreck. Yo, you ran into me. You now have to pay. Just like you came and got my people. You brought us over, enslaved us for 400 years. You need to pay reparation. It's part of what was it? What's the word? Restitution. You know, for your crime. This is restitution. So miss me with the whole it's happened. You need to forget about it happened back in the day. Yeah, you still committed a crime. Just like any other crime, there's no statute on this.
Right. You know, and let me put it too, because I think a lot of people kind of downplay the value that slavery has to America. Slavery built America, right? Never let people confuse you. So the reason I say that is because the first industries in America, of course, agricultural. You know who was out there doing that? Second, it was insurance, right? What were they insuring? Ships to go get people. So the insurance industry was born out of slavery. Shipping was born out of slavery. The products that we produce, the cotton, the tobacco, the rice, the threads, everything we produce out of slavery. This is what Wall Street was built on. So the fact that people are trying to act like there's not a causal connection between slavery and America's superpower. You have to remember when America was fighting the British, half the battle, if you've seen Hamilton, we don't have no money to keep the fight going. We got to get France over here to help us. How do we pay off all of that and get ready and become a superpower? Slavery. So you know, to say that it doesn't have any effect, or to say that we don't have the money when we see you sending food and money to Afghanistan, you shipping tanks across the world, you know, like it's disingenuous. And I think what has happened is for our people, unlike anybody else in America, our people, we're expected to be victimized, right? You see that now with the police brutality stuff. We're expected to be victimized and to react peacefully. And so when we don't react peacefully, it confuses people because their notion is that we're supposed to be holding hands, singing Kumbaya to get something, but that hasn't been working. And the problem is, you know, and I respect everybody who, you know, John Lewis, I don't want to discredit, I respect everybody who does that. But I also feel like the reason that I am a retired activist is because I'm not doing no more nonviolent protests. I'm done. If all we've said, and the threshold for me is an equity standard, not a let me live standard. I think we're doing peaceful protests saying don't kill us. And we legit have police officers and now federal agents in Portland who are capturing and killing us for saying don't kill us. That is ridiculous. So to me, I'm like, look, at some point you want to be Martin Luther King in the situation, but at some point you gotta be Malcolm X in the situation. You're not gonna come to my house and tell me what I'm gonna do, and then I gotta sit here and hold hands and hope that you don't take advantage. You come to my house, I got something for you.
Some real heat for you this time. I'm telling you. All right. So Jay, how can the good folks get a hold of you, brother?
Well, first off, Facebook, J Hamilton McCoy. Definitely check me out. As Terry alluded to, I post a lot.
He does. It's amazing. Some of his stuff is just I'm telling you, if you don't follow this guy, please do yourself the pleasure of following this guy. There's something he's like,
Yep. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't plug the podcast that I'm a part of as well.
Oh, for sure.
Brothers-in-Law, definitely check that out. It's a bi-weekly podcast about all things Black that I do with my good friend and Harvard attorney, Sean Carter.
Harvard, he said.
Yeah, Harvard. He has a great story about how when he was a 3L, there was this guy with a funny name that he used to pick on as a 1L, and that guy turned out to be Barack Obama.
Wow. Black excellence.
I also do a Pan-Africana podcast. So it's called Pan-Africana with my friend Fred Nantara. We came up with this only because we think that in this new economy, in this new era, we want to kind of siphon away resources from the traditional westernized government systems and help Black people across the world understand that we are a network in and of themselves. We have our own buying power. We can network with each other and make things happen without taking part in any of the Western stuff.
Right.
So, Pan-Africana every Saturday, 12:30. And then lastly, my podcast, which is Black History You May Not Know. It's on all platforms. Check it out. It's a series of mini podcasts about Black history and why you should be proud of who you are.
Wow.
Boom. Look at that. So you can follow Jay on all those platforms that he just mentioned. Just to clarify something, though, when he said brothers-in-law, not brothers like brothers who talk, or the brothers like not that. It's brothers.
Right.
It's spelled ebonically.
Right.
Ruthas.
Yes, indeed.
So you go and check that out on Apple Podcasts and everywhere else. I mean, just amazing stuff if you don't follow them. Of course, you can follow the Brothers Who Talk on all podcast platforms, Apple, iHeart, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, everywhere. If you don't get to catch us on Facebook, we are live on YouTube as well. Please go back and check out the replay on YouTube. Also, we are still on the drive to 100.
Yes.
So if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so.
Do that.
We are at 51 subscribers, I think it is, AD.
Yes, sir.
And so once we get to 100, what we're going to do is going to put all 100 subscribers in a virtual hat, and we're going to pull a name for a Amazon gift card. So
that's
the drive to 100. So make sure that you're up in here and do that. So we're going to go ahead and get on up out of here. It has been an honor and a pleasure to talk. We only ran one commercial today, by the way.
It's all good. But listen, before you close out, I'm definitely gonna have this gentleman back on because I got some more stuff to ask. We're gonna make some shifting, so some of our podcasts are gonna run longer. So we need to get
this one.
We're gonna squeeze a lot of information out of my brother that come on. Get it all out of you. Because I got a lot more questions to ask. But we definitely appreciate you guys rocking with us. Thank you for hanging out, and make sure you guys are sharing. Follow this gentleman here. He dropped some definite knowledge. I was on this page, laughing and liking. So if he sees a lot of likes, and where I ain't trolling, I was like getting excited, like, oh,
I'm telling you,
you got some good stuff. But so appreciate you guys. All right, Terry, close this out, brother.
All right, you guys have a great rest of your week, man. We'll see you next week right here, the Brothers Who Talk on Facebook. You guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next week. All right. Peace.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Brothers Who Talk. Brothers Who Talk with Terry and AD. Check us out again next week, where we bring you a steaming helping of common sense, laughs, and advice. We can be found on any podcasting platform, iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. We're also on milehighradio.com, Saturdays at 12 Eastern. See you there.